Hi everybody, Brendan here. According to the punk rock calendar, in November 1982, the Beastie Boys headlined a Rat Cage Records benefit show with Reagan Youth and the Young and the Useless at CBGB. This month in punk rock history, we take a look at the punk rock origins of the Beastie Boys. But first I want to take a second and offer a quick shout out to my host, Sweet Jimmy Network. Check out previous editions of This Month in Punk Rock History, as well as 60-second reviews and an all-new Tales from the Thrift coming soon. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and start fights in the comments section. It's not exactly a secret that the Beastie Boys, one of the most influential hip-hop acts of all time, started as a hardcore punk band. But did you know that the band that preceded the Beasties was a post-punk band? For more on post-punk, take a look at my September video about the Futurama festivals.
Now, here's a little story I got to tell about three bad brothers you know so well.
It didn't actually start with those three bad brothers, but we can. While Ad Rock, MCA, and Mike D, also known as Adam Horovitz, Adam Yauch, and Mike Diamond, respectively, make up the classic and final lineup of the group, the Beastie Boys were originally Michael Diamond, John Barry, Kate Schellenbach, and Adam Yauch. So here's how it really started. In the summer of 1980, New Jersey punk band Even Worse were booked for a gig when their singer just ghosted them. They plucked John Barry out of the audience and gave him the job. Now this lasted for about 6 to 7 months until Harley Flanagan's The Stimulators poached bassist Nick Martin. Even Worse kind of fell apart after that, and Barry ended up forming the Young Aborigines with high school friends Jeremy Shatton and Mike Diamond. Mike Diamond says he was one of only 3 punk rock kids in his high school. Besides himself, there was John Barry and Jeremy Shatton. Diamond describes Barry as, quote, the most classically British punk-looking New Yorker, with spiky hair, acne, and a pale Irish complexion, while Shatton was a, quote, heavy-set, nerdy Jewish kid with glasses. They were drawn together by their mutual passion for punk rock. It was at a Bad Brain show that Diamond and Barry met Adam Yauch. A new clique was forming. Among the group of young punks was a subset of girls called the Bag Ladies, so called because of their penchant for thrift shops. Among the Bag Ladies was Kate Schellenbach, who later said she was inspired to play drums after seeing New York City punk band The Student Teachers with drummer Laura Davis at CBGB. She later met John Barry, who introduced her to Mike Diamond. Along with Jeremy Shatton, the boys invited Kate to join their band. Diamond describes the Young Aborigines as inspired by bands like The Slits, Gang of Four, and PIL. But none of them wanted to be the singer, and although auditions were held, they'd never quite found the right voice. Meanwhile, friend of the band, Adam Yauch, was pressuring them to move away from post-punk and toward hardcore punk. They eventually listened to Yauch and took on a second identity by shuffling their lineup. Schellenbach told Tom Tom magazine, "We would play and we would rehearse as the Young Aborigines. It was our serious band. Then when we were done, we would switch instruments, and that's how the Beastie Boys kind of came to be. It was kind of a joke." The name of the band came about through a brainstorming session and, as Diamond says, was a button or a badge before it was a band. Upon the coining of the name, an acronym was formed: Boys Entering Anarchistic States Towards Inner Excellence. Keep in mind, there was a girl in the band, and the word boys is used twice in the name. It was a joke, and the band was a joke. The Young Aborigines had, as Diamond describes in his book, a months-long run of practices before playing 2 shows the same day and abruptly breaking up. Now, I say breaking up, but shedding their skin may be a more appropriate metaphor. The members of the Young Aborigines enjoyed each other's company, they enjoyed being in a band, they enjoyed playing, but they were going nowhere and they knew it. The Aborigines died, and the Beastie Boys were born and led by Adam Yauch into the annals of history. On August 5th, 1981, the Beasties played their first gig. Sort of. It was an impromptu set at a birthday party for Yauch. Among the roughly 24 people in attendance was Dave Parsons of Rat Cage Record Store. Parsons approached the band about putting out a record, and shit started to get real. Recorded at de facto Bad Brains headquarters 171A, mixed in Scott Jarvis's apartment, and manufactured by John Loder of Crass Records and Southern Studios fame, Pollywog Stew hit the streets of New York in the summer of 1982. The EP was the first release on Rat Cage Records. It was so successful among Lower East Side punks of a certain age that another unknown band begged Parsons to put out a record for them. So he did. Comprised of Adam Trace, Arthur Africano, David Shilkin, and Adam Horovitz, The Young and the Useless released Real Men Don't Floss later in 1982. The two groups played a few shows together and became friends and fixtures on the neighborhood hardcore scene. After some time though, John Barry just wasn't having any fun. At the same time, The Young and the Useless had, according to Adam Horovitz, run its course. Barry left the Beasties and Horovitz stepped in. Right away they were making strides in the scene, opening for the more established Reagan Youth, and within 3 months of their first show, opening for the Bad Brains at Max's Kansas City. According to Diamond, what came next was a blur. Hardcore matinees with the Misfits, Sonic Youth, the Stimulators, and more. While it was exciting, the novelty began to wear and the Beastie Boys grew tired. Until, as Diamond writes, hip-hop came downtown. Now, it wouldn't be a proper This Month in Punk Rock History video without at least one tangential Sex Pistols reference, so here it is. Former Sex Pistols manager and punk rock impresario Malcolm McLaren put out a hip-hop single in 1982 called Buffalo Gals, which served as an inspiration for the Beastie Boys' debut single, Cookie Puss. A prank call to the boys' local Carvel ice cream store was recorded and set against a hip-hop beat with plenty of scratching. This marked a new era for the band, and the last recording of Kate as the band's drummer. Schellenbach claims the single's success on college radio fueled a new direction for the band, and the live drummer sort of became obsolete. This was about the time they hooked up with NYU student and aspiring DJ producer Rick Rubin, who squeezed Kate out of the band and molded the three bad brothers you know so well into what Adam Horovitz described as, quote, a cartoon rap version of an 80s metal band, with hits like Fight for Your Right to Party and No Sleep Till Brooklyn. That was the early Def Jam era, after which came the Paul's Boutique era, the Grand Royal label era, Free Tibet, Hello Nasty, and Hot Sauce Committee. Each of these a new era in which the Beastie Boys reinvented themselves until the death of Adam Yauch in 2012. Throughout their career, they never stopped thinking of themselves as a punk band, no matter how far from codified punk they wandered. The Beastie Boys never lost sight of their roots and maintained friendships with many of those from the original scene. Obviously, the Beastie Boys story is much deeper and much more complex than what was presented here, but there are plenty of other sources that cover modern-era Beasties in greater detail. Thanks for joining me. More tales of punk rock of old can be found via tiprh.start.page. For This Month in Punk Rock History, I'm Brendan McCabe. Join me right here next month when we celebrate Christmas punk rock style. See you then.